This here's from MovieWeb. They pretty much brutally attack Johnny Depp and say he's his own worst enemy. There's only one person standing in the way of Johnny Depp's big comeback, but he'll never admit it. Meaning, they're saying he's standing in his own way. Not sure why they're putting this out now. This is like a week old or something. MovieWeb seems like they should be a non-biased site, but alright, let's see what they got. Before that, shout out to Dan Campbell and Deb Ramsden. Thank you so much for the super thanks. They're appreciated. Also, to Sabrinkle Dinkle, I missed this one a little while ago. Thank you so much. Alright, here we go. That Johnny Depp comeback may have to wait. In what was supposed to be the actor's return to form, the carnival at the end of days was reportedly overhauled after writer-director Terry Gilliam claimed that the Trump presidency rendered most of the humor moot. I didn't know that, but I can't really make the direct connection. Is he thinking people are going to watch the movie and think certain things are about Trump that aren't about Trump or something like that? I've never seen someone blame a president for a movie rewrite, but okay. Somewhat off topic. Add another name to the enemy's list. Depp, whose career was already slumping before the defamation trial against ex-wife Amber Heard, and who had a string of forgotten box office flops, had previously blamed malicious critics for his film's failures. Then he claimed to be libeled by the press. It seems everywhere he looks, he spots conspirators trying to take him down, but he actually was libeled by the press, so that's a fact. But alright, what else you got, MovieWeb? Before that trial, Depp blamed his financial troubles on his managers. That lawsuit was settled before trial, leaving the specifics unclear. In 2024, he asserted that blockbusters were passé and idiots ran Hollywood, which is true. Reality TV was killing civilization, and mainstream culture was irredeemably woke, clearly not taking his excommunication from LA inner circles gracefully. I don't think anything Johnny said there was completely false. Maybe some slight exaggerations or something, but I think for the most part he's on the money. Regardless of where you stand on the Depp vs. Heard trial, it's hard to sympathize with a guy who seems to consider himself superior to everyone else. Okay, not sure where they get that from, but fine. I think Johnny's very based and down to earth for his level of fame, being probably one of the top 1% famous people who ever lived. They go on to say Carnival at the End of Days' delay is actually a way to judge his trajectory over the last decade, forgetting that Day Drinker's coming out, which can't come out soon enough, by the way. They say he was once perceived as a thoughtful, hip, and relatable public figure, and now he's doing cringy cologne ads. Okay. They say that Keanu Reeves can shake off the occasional bad movie, and they never forgot Steven Seagal, but Depp is of course a more complex case. I mean, sure, Depp is more complex than Steven Seagal or Keanu Reeves. That's not necessarily a negative or a positive. Fine. Steven Seagal's just an action movie guy who moved to Russia or something and got fat, by the way. Kind of weird for a martial arts guy, to gain that weight. They say nearly every film project Depp touched for the last 15 years or so turned to gold. He was the rare artsy actor who effortlessly connected to mainstream sensibilities without any forethought. His nonchalance and eccentricity were part of his charm, an outsider punk rock who accidentally tricked Hollywood into a contract. So here's the thing. The entire movie industry right now, aside from like the biggest of the big, is struggling because there's so much competition with video games, social media, AI, whatever people are doing. The focus used to be, when's this movie coming out? Because there's not other things in its way. It's like we're going to go to a movie because other things don't really exist. Or the video games were consoles in those days when movies were like at their, golden age. You put the video game down and you go out and you see the movie. But now video games are online, on your phone. You can't really ignore them and just put it down. They're always there. Or whatever else you got going. You got your social media. You're talking to people. You're waiting for things to happen in the news. Movies just are not at the center anymore like they used to be. So you can't really blame Johnny for that. Naturally, he's going to be getting less attention because the industry is smaller. The industry itself has less attention on it. That's the truth. They say a lot has changed since 2002. Well, no shit. Do you need to be telling us that now? They mentioned Transcendence was a flop. Some other movie I can't pronounce was a flop. I like Transcendence, by the way. They say it's infuriating that Johnny thinks he's the underdog. I'm not really sure Johnny thinks he's the underdog in the whole overall sense of success and being a movie star. He probably means it in the way of the type of person he is in Hollywood. Like they just said, he's like the rocker, punk, artsy guy who seems to be an underdog personality type and character in Hollywood compared to the more clean-cut actor. They say he pretends not to care, but lashes out at every bit of negative press. I don't think so. Johnny actually stayed silent for a really long time. Johnny stayed too silent for a long time. Fans are hoping he'd say more. We were like, Johnny, say something. Defend yourself. You're going to let this one go? So I'd say that one's objectively false. Johnny's been very quiet about what's going on. They say he blames everyone lost in his own bubble, blaming feminists, random television stars, studio heads, the press in general, and criticizing Me Too. Because Me Too falsely accused him. Not Me Too itself as a movement necessarily, but, you know, he was caught up in it. I think he's got the right to criticize it. And they finished by saying, basically, he was a nobody from Kentucky. Well, I'd say being a nobody from Kentucky is a great fucking thing for somebody to get to Johnny's level. I mean, it's not saying a lot if you're born rich and famous in Hollywood already, like, say, Will Smith's son, who can't make a career, no one watches his stuff no matter what he does. That says less. If you're a nobody working up from nothing, that says more about you. But all right, MovieWeb. I didn't know MovieWeb was like this. I thought they were more like talking about movies. Let's talk about Day Drinker, who's going to be on the set, analyze Johnny's newest interviews about it, talk about the movie, what's the plot going to be like, what's the direction going to be like, because Mark Webb's a pretty famous director, but they make some really trashy article just completely attacking Johnny. Okay, good job, MovieWeb. I'll remember this. Anyway, thanks again to Brinkle Dinkle. Thanks again, Deb and Dan. It's appreciated. I don't know why I'm pointing. And MovieWeb, well, not a thank you for you. Pretty shitty article. If you're not subscribed here, consider it. I'm doing all things entertainment. Johnny Depp, Meghan and Harry, whatever comes up. If you don't subscribe here, I'll be sad, but I'll get over it. See you next time.